Yesterday I finished pruning back my big cedar in the garden here. It's August 15th today. And my big task for the day is bonsai related. All my cedars in pots have grown like crazy and they all need a nice pruning. Even the ones in the really small pots have really extended. So I'm gonna go through them one at a time. They're also numbered, just like the pines were. I'll do this video kind of just like I did the pines. So yeah, grab them one at a time, bring them over to the bench. And by bench, I of course mean pruning table, turntable. So there's a whole bunch of growth in there, way more than I need. Some overlapping, crossing branches, a whole bunch coming out of the same spot. So I'm gonna clean everything up, just leave a few branches here and there that I wanna develop in the future. And then after, I'll do some pruning and pinching to those after I've decided on the main structure here. I think I'll do this one all on camera because it's kind of a cool one. First, I'm gonna get rid of all unnecessary branches, ones that are growing at weird directions. Oops. Some of this has the juvenile growth in there. This is gonna look like a whole different tree when I'm done this operation. I don't think it's ever been fully cleaned up before. Go ahead and shorten that one now. I know I'm not gonna want all of it in the end. So there's this one up here. And I want this. This is my pruning point from last time I pruned this. Last year probably. Maybe in May of this year. But anyways, that's gonna be my leader. So I don't want this strong one growing out almost at the same point. It's just kind of grown out this year and turned into a rocket branch going up, so we get rid of everything growing out of there. There's quite a bit actually, but yeah, I don't want it, so that's all of that. Everything in the junction there. Can just peel some of these off with my thumbnail. Kind of tricky to prune this one. There's a whole bunch of growth and it's hard to see in there. Don't really know what's going on. But yeah, I've decided to use this as the leader, so I'll just get rid of everything else in there. Bunch of juvenile growth here I don't need. Just, yeah, go ahead and prune these shorter anyways. Going to eventually, so I might as well now. Yeah, it's kind of a long process, isn't it? I've got a whole bunch of trees that I'm gonna have to do exactly this with. So definitely won't be doing them all on camera. Gonna have to be kind of ruthless and get rid of all of that. Don't need any of it growing straight up through the middle. This tree's really moving around in its pot. I should be careful with that. Kind of peeled some of the bark off there. Oh well. Just gonna cut off a couple of these that are growing in weird angles. I think this one I can leave. Maybe that'll end up being the leader in the future, and this can be a branch growing out that way. Shorten a little bit of this. Still some unnecessary branching in there. Can keep a little bit extra, more than I'll use in the end, but I don't need to cut off everything right now. I should really leave a little bit so it can continue growing somewhat strong. Okay, that's enough. Quite a bit I took off of there. Wow, that took like 9 minutes almost. Alright, I'll get in a little closer. Final result. Everything is very opened up now. Still a few stragglers I missed here and there. There was like a million tiny little buds growing out of the trunk. Got to get rid of all of that. There's a big bulge here. I guess hopefully that'll eventually, you know, go away as the tree grows, but that's pretty ugly right now. I can carve it off eventually too, but I think it'll blend in at some point. Get rid of a little bit more of that rocket branch. I left the leader up here untouched, so hopefully that'll gain some vigor. Took a little bit out of this. And I can take some out of that as well. Yep, that's it. Okay, there it is. That took forever, but that's cedar number 1, all pruned up. Yeah, very much in development still. We'll see what it turns into in the future, but that's it for now. On to the next one. Here's number 2. This one I pruned a little while ago. Pruned some branches off here. You know, some of these cedars I'm kind of growing as, you know, straight trees so that I can put them all together into a forest, but yeah, I'm still gonna do that with these ones, but their side branches are growing way too big now, and I just need to cut everything back to a nice tight conical form, you know, with a narrow canopy apex, and then, you know, a very kind of tight cone like that. You know, cut everything back way short for now to the first kind of fronds so that they can start ramifying a little bit and getting a little bit more interest before I put them into the forest together. All right, I'm gonna do that off camera and be right back. Might have gone a little bit overboard with this one. I don't know. We'll see. But I really took it back to its bare bones and, you know, opened everything up. Just left a few things down here and some major, you know, branch divisions there. Now I'll just wait another year or so for it to strengthen back up and do some more. I don't know if I'll repot any of my cedars next year. Maybe some of them. I'll be more selective. But yeah, that's it for number 2. Moving on. Number 3 here is kind of interesting. I'm gonna keep it as a smaller tree. It's got some, you know, cool bends and twists in it. So yeah, I'll do this one off camera. Yeah, I'm not sure how I want to design it in the future. I think I'll probably choose this one as the next leader to come back that way. Yeah, I'll decide. And that's it for number 3. I went pretty drastic here, I guess. So yeah, I ended up leaving this one as the leader. I didn't touch anything. I'm just gonna let that, you know, explode in growth again. I took everything else off. There was a big branch. This was actually the leader I took off. It was going straight up. There was a big side branch here I took off. Another one here. Some smaller ones. I chopped back all these little bubbles, little knobs that had formed. Anyways, I think, you know, it's got some pretty interesting movement now. You know, eventually maybe this one will be the next leader, but for now, that's it. Yeah, I don't know how big this tree will be eventually. Kind of a smaller one, I guess, but you know, once it thickens up, this should be a fairly interesting trunk. You know, maybe if I let this one grow up as the leader kind of here, then I can start the branching up here somewhere. Yeah, I don't know, we'll see. See what happens in the future. But yeah, that's it for number 3. This here is number 4. Lots of strong growth. These branches have, you know, come out sideways and then shot up towards the sun. So I've got a lot of shortening back to do. I'll probably bring everything to something like, you know, something like that. Yeah, here goes. That's it for number 4. I quite like it. It's a pretty natural looking little cedar. You know, a bunch of branching coming out at different spots along the trunk, growing more or less straight up and down. Yeah, pretty cool. Nice horizontal one at the bottom, and then they start, you know, angling up more sharply towards the top. And I left the leader alone so that can keep on growing. And not much more to say. Let it grow on for the rest of the year. See what happens in the future. That's it for number 4. I'm running out of light pretty quickly now, so here's 5 and 6 before shots. I think I'm just going to prune these slowly as the light fades, and I'll show the after shots probably tomorrow when I get home from work, and I'll do a few more trees at that time. Okay, yeah. These ones grew pretty different. This one I'll probably prune the exact same way as I did number 4. And this one is kind of a little bit more interesting with some, you know, some movement there. Not quite sure what I'm gonna do, but maybe I'll keep this one really small and have this as the next leader or something. We shall see. Yeah, all right, well. See you in the morning. This is how 5 and 6 turned out. Not bad, I think. I was going to choose one of these as a new leader and kind of introduce some movement, but I think I'll do that later. I'll just let this grow up for now. Let the tree gain strength and vigor, and then I can make some shaping decisions. This one, just like a straight up and down, you know, more or less training them as formal uprights to start with, I guess. Anyways, I am on the way to softball right now, so I won't have time to do another one on camera, but I think after I get home I'll do a couple as the sun's setting, so I'll just show the before pics of them real quick. Rather the before shots, not pics. So yeah, there's 7 and 8. This one is, you know, got some yellowing on the older leaves, last year's leaves. This year's grew out really strong, but it's got, you know, a couple kind of, you know, there's a potential weeping or, you know, cascade style hiding in there somewhere, but I don't know. We'll see what I do with them. Probably around this time tomorrow after I get home from work. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned, but this is the next day after the first set of videos doing up my cedars. All right, that's it. See you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day now. I'm home from work. I finished these up last night after it got dark. Yeah, pretty straightforward for both of those. Cut this one back to those yellowing leaves, so we'll see how it does in the future, but I'm gonna grab the next ones and maybe I'll do number 9 on camera. We'll see. Okay, this one here is number 9. It's kind of interesting actually. Yeah, I think I'll do this one on camera. I think I'm gonna make this one kind of like a cascade style eventually, but for now I'll just prune everything short. I'll keep maybe this much of this cascading branch here, and maybe about the same from this one and this one. Yeah, lots of opportunities for interesting design choices here. I'll just get a little bit of a close-up here so you can see all of this juvenile growth coming out of the trunk, like at least a dozen little shoots out of the same spot pretty much, and then a whole bunch more coming out of here. So I'll be taking all those off, pruning everything back nice and short. Actually, there's no need to do this on camera. I'll just explain what I'm gonna do and then do it and show the result. Yeah. Okay, be right back. Here's the final product for number 9. I think it's looking pretty cool. Some movement coming out to the side, and then, you know, have these weeping down, cascading down out that way. Pretty much all the growth is, you know, fairly one-dimensional, two-dimensional, just growing out, you know, along this plane. There's not a lot growing this way, but work on that in the future. I think it's a pretty good basic structure for now. Yeah. All right, moving on. This is number 10, kind of a smaller one. I guess it'll be fairly straightforward. It looks like there's a cut point here. I guess I did that. Maybe there were 2 to choose from and I chose that one. Yeah. All right, time to get pruning. And that's it for number 10. Looking pretty smooth, I think. Good start. Okay. Next, we have number 11, which is growing all sorts of side branching. Looks like I definitely cut this one back. Maybe when I repotted it. I'm not sure when the last time I did any pruning on these cedars were. Probably when I repotted back in April, May. I think it was May when I got these done. Yeah. All right. Gonna prune that up. Kind of form it as, you know, like a more, I guess, informal upright. You know, more or less training all my straight up and down ones, although this one does have a little bit of a curve, as, you know, more formal uprights, so I can kind of put them all into a forest together. Although this one looks like it could have a little bit more interest, so maybe this will just be a big specimen tree on its own. I can introduce a little bit more shape and, you know, kind of random structure. Yeah, okay, pruning time. There's number 11 finished. Is the sun kind of messing up the camera? Maybe not. This one, You know, I was able to prune a little bit more shape into these branches. You know, they're growing a little bit more three-dimensionally, which is nice. I'll let this grow strong, and then I'll pick one of these as the next, you know, major leader. Maybe it'll be this one. And then I can grow it up like that, twisting around a little bit. We'll see. Okay, 11, done. Number 12 is a kind of similar tree, but a little smaller. Yep, not much to say. Time to prune it up. And that's it for number 12. I went real drastic with this one. Cut it back super hard. I took off the main branch for the most part in most of them and just chose the little side one that, you know, tried to give things a little bit of, you know, different angles, but pretty much, you know, it's pretty flat right there, but oh well. That's it. Moving on. Here's lucky number 13. It's got this kind of interesting branch here. Maybe I'll leave all that again. There was a cut point there from last time. Bunch of cut points. I think I didn't really cut them at a good time of year. I don't know. There's brown, you know, brown tips where I pruned everything off, and nothing really grew directly out of those cut points, but, you know, off to the side. I don't know. Whatever. Time for some more pruning. It's definitely the right time of year now. Mid-August, perfect. 13, all finished up. I kind of like, actually I'll just get rid of this old brown tip there. And here, don't really like how that looks. Yeah. 1, 2. Alright, that's enough. Anyways, I kind of like this funky little branch there. And the rest of them are kind of, you know, spiraling up around the trunk. So this one's off to a pretty good start. Yeah, cool little tree. Lucky number 13, all finished up. On to the next one, which is number 14. A tree that has grown quite tall, fairly straight, but with some really long side branches. So I'm gonna cut those way back, you know, make my triangular form, something like that, you know, but leave the leader alone. So I'm leaving all the leaders alone. I think I might have mentioned that. I just want these trees to grow as tall and thick as they can, develop some decent sized trunks before I, you know, plant some of them as, you know, in some bonsai training pots instead of these, you know, narrow, deep nursery training pots. Anyways, I'm rambling on now, but yeah, develop good trunks and then do more with them later on. Okay, time to prune this baby. And there it is, finished, number 14. Again, fairly, you know, two-dimensional going this way, and quite the rocket branch going up. See what happens. Yeah, pretty cool. Moving on. Number 15 is kind of crazy looking. It's got tons of really strong growth, lots of branches coming right out of the trunk, growing really tall. Yeah, really extending outwards. Pretty much do the same thing as I did with the last one. It's a couple days later now, the 19th, and I didn't get a chance to do this one until late last night after it was dark, so I didn't film it until now after work. So yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I like this tree. Bunch of branches coming out all around, kind of like twisting up the trunk a little bit. We've got this cool one over here that could eventually be, I don't know, something interesting. But yeah, good start to this tree. Hopefully it grows nice and, you know, thick and strong over the next year. It's got a bunch. I started looking down here. Maybe I'll get a close-up of that. Yeah, so I started kind of poking around in the roots a little bit, the root base, and you can see a bunch of them growing out pretty radially, which is great. I think I'll probably just, you know, keep them covered. And I don't really need these rocks on there anymore. I can use them for something else now. That was kind of loud. And I got a root sticking out of the surface now. All right, that's good enough. 15 finished, on to the next one. This here is number 16. Kind of a smaller, skinnier tree. Tiny bit of movement near the bottom. Nothing too drastic. If you hear music in the background over the next few days, it's Rib Fest in Gage Park, which is pretty much right next door. So yeah, I don't know if you can actually hear it on camera, if it makes it through the jungle here, but I can definitely hear it. All right, enough talking. I'm gonna get to pruning this and I'll be right back. And this is what it looks like after a bit of pruning. Nothing too special about it yet, but one day I did things a little bit differently. Instead of, so, you know, what I do with each kind of branch, frond, whatever you call them, is I pinched everything back to the first two extensions, and normally I pinch the tips off of those, so all of the energy will just come out, you know, more balanced. But these ones I left alone all around, so, you know, they'll keep extending outwards and upwards, the main energy, I guess. That's my thinking anyways. Okay, number 16 finished. Moving on. And here it is, number 17, my favorite number. This is not necessarily my favorite cedar tree that I have, but it's a pretty cool one. It's got some potential with branches growing out in different directions. Got some good height. Yeah, good options to work with here. Do this one again off camera. And yeah, be right back. After quite a bit of work on this one, I've finally got my finished design, or for now finished anyways. It's not really centered on there. So what I did was start at the top. I left one little frond, or whatever you call it, branch, I don't know, 2, 3. Well, I guess I screwed it up a little bit. 1, 1, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 on this one, and I left it kind of curling up this way, which, I don't know, looks kind of interesting maybe. Eventually I could have like a tiny little cathedral style tree, like, you know, really small, but cathedral style. I don't know if that would work, but could give it a shot. Have, you know, these 3 or maybe those 4 eventually, and then cut off the leader. I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I like the number 17, so maybe I'll do something different with this one. Okay, on to the next. So this is number 18, the last cedar that I have growing in a pot by itself. So after this one, it'll just be the small little cedar forest I have. This one's quite bushy, and I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with it yet. I might keep it a little bushier than the other ones, maybe. I'm not sure. Grow it a little bit differently. You know, I've been stripping most of these cedars really bare, especially the last 10 or so. The first few I did weren't too bad. Left a bit more foliage on them, but, you know, I've been pretty brutal overall. I'm sure they'll all survive, but, you know, I took off probably 90% of the foliage on some of them, most of them, so I don't know what that noise is over there, but related to Ribfest happening. There's music, of course. Yeah, I was thinking about doing this on camera, but I don't know. I'll just do it off camera. Maybe I'll do the tiny little forest on camera a little bit. Yeah, okay. BRB. And here's what I'd turn this one into. I did a lot less work than on the other ones. Yeah, I didn't really do too much beside just trim back all of the main branches. You know, even this one that's coming out in all sorts of different directions, I left them all on there. I didn't cut off any branches, I just shortened everything and then pinched the tips a little bit just to make it a nice kind of rounded, you know, branch profile, and, you know, gave it that little kind of tight, well, not very tight, but kind of conical shape. I let some of these branches grow out a little bit long. Yeah, so I'm not going to keep doing this the whole life of this tree. I just want to see what happens. You know, I left all of these tiny little new shoots alone, and all of these ones as well. You know, there's a whole bunch of shoots coming out of the same spot in a couple different spots, and some foliage growing in weird directions, but I just wanted to leave everything, see, you know, kind of do a little experiment, see if it grows differently than the other ones, how differently it grows, you know, than the ones that I prune back real hard. Anyways, maybe I'll do something similar with the next one, but I don't know. Actually, this might be the last one. Yeah, I think this is my, yeah, I already said that last time, didn't I? Anyways, that's it for this one. That's it for all my, you know, solo specimen type cedar trees, the ones planted all alone. So I'll put this back on the bench and start working on my final cedar project for now. My little cedar forest that has 5 trees in it that have all grown pretty differently. You know, these ones have shot up really tall. And these ones have decided to grow a whole bunch of, side branching. So I think what I'll do is, bring them all back. Maybe I'll leave them like this, the heights, kind of interesting to keep them at different heights. Anyways, I'll just prune them back to a tight conical shape. I'll do it off camera because it's pretty tedious stuff and you don't really need to see everything. Yeah, be right back. I finished up the first tree in here, the one on the left. It's looking pretty good. Starting to get some shape to it. Little, tiny bit of branch ramification in a couple spots. But that took quite a while, at least 20 minutes, I think. A lot of small pinching and thinking. So yeah, I'll just keep going. Give a little update after each tree, I think. Second tree is finished. The one in the back here. It's actually the tallest one in the forest right now. There was a new little juvenile shoot finally growing out of the pruning point that I made probably, back in May, I guess, when I planted this little forest. I've noticed that on a lot of my cedars, those cut points that I made at that time don't have anything growing directly out of them like this one does, but they just had a bunch of side shoots, and then the cut point stayed kind of brown and not great looking. But I guess that's just part of the deal with cedars. All right, I'm gonna move on to the middle tree next. That's the middle tree all finished up. I kind of like it. It's got this little bend in it right there. I left a couple branches growing out this way. Really tiny juvenile ones. I left this branch a little bit longer because I kind of like the way it fills in this part of the forest here, but then you'll still be able to look in down here. And yeah, that's about it. That was the second tallest one in the forest. Next I'm gonna move on to this bush over here. This is really gonna clear out the bottom. I'll make it look just like these other ones. Get rid of everything, and I'm sure that'll encourage a lot of upward growth, hopefully. Yeah, don't want these trees to grow too bushy at the bottom, nice little forest where the first branches are fairly low but not right at ground level. I'll probably end up getting rid of most of those ones. I left 4 growing out the bottom out of this tiny tree to try and encourage a little bit of trunk thickening here, maybe. Still a pretty small tree. Maybe I'll do the same with these ones. They're still pretty skinny, especially this one. Anyways, that's it. Gonna prune up this one and be right back. And that is the finished result. I went ahead and just did the last 2 trees together without an update in between. There was a whole bunch of growth lower down, took out a lot of branches here, tons of little juvenile side shoots all over the place around this height. Yeah, so I pruned this one kind of the same way as these. This one I chose, there was actually like 3 different leaders going straight up, so I chose this one that kind of leans out that way a little bit, and then this main branch is gonna kind of come out the side of the planting. I don't know how long I'll keep everything in this pot before transplanting to a bigger one, maybe adding some more trees in. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, that's it. Let's get everything back on the bench. So yeah, I've got all my cedars over here, looking very sparse. You can actually see through everything now. Haven't been able to do that, well, probably since last year. Yeah, had some crazy growth on these cedars over the last year since I, put them all in their own pots back in late May, whatever that was. Good soil. Yeah, repotted basically all of these. Yeah, did repot all of these. Everything that I pruned up, I repotted back in April or May or whenever that was. The only other cedar I have is this one, which originally was, pretty big. I definitely cut way too much off at the wrong time of year, and it just never really recovered. There is a tiny little bit of new growth on this one, so it's surviving, but not thriving, so we'll see what happens. This is my balsam fir over here. Doesn't need any work. Yep, that's it for all my cedars. Happy that's over now. That took several hours over the last week or so, but yeah, glad it's done. Looking forward to see how these grow for the next month and a half of decent growing weather I've got here in southern Ontario. Yeah, see what happens and what they look like next year. All right, that's it for this one. As always, thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Cheers.